She had everything: beauty, wealth, a man who adored her, and a perfect baby girl. But in one moment, it all disappeared. A girl gone without a trace, and a secret she buried deep suddenly clawing its way back into her perfect life. What really happened that night in the village? Karen McKeesey was born into a world of elegance, wealth beyond imagination, luxury that others only dreamed of. Her childhood home in Cape Town was a mansion of glass and gold, with silent corridors and staff who bowed. Yet, in all that grandeur, Karen felt hollow. She had no siblings, no chaos, no warmth, only carefully arranged flowers and lonely dinners. Her parents, busy with charity galas and boardrooms, sent her to KwaZulu-Natal every December to stay with her grandparents. It was meant to keep her grounded, but for Karen, it became a secret refuge. The countryside gave her something money never could: honesty. The smell of wood smoke, the barefoot children laughing in the dust, the sound of frogs at night. It all felt real. There, she first saw Joshua. He wasn't like the other village boys. He kept to himself, working silently, chopping wood, carrying water, fixing things. His eyes were deep, unreadable. Karen, bored and curious, began speaking to him. At first, he barely looked at her, but soon they sat beneath trees, sharing fruit, laughing quietly like old friends. Karen thought she'd found the brother she never had. But even in her innocence, she missed the signs. The way he stared too long, the way he always knew where she was. Her grandmother's hesitant glances, her grandfather's short answers. Joshua was hiding something dark. And though Karen didn't know it yet, that December would mark the beginning of everything she would one day lose. Joshua was the kind of boy people overlooked, until they looked too closely. He moved like smoke, quiet and unnoticed, doing whatever work the village gave him. At just 19, he already carried the posture of a man who had lived through too much. Some said he was cursed with sadness. Others said he was simply strange. But Karen saw none of that. To her, he was a mystery worth unfolding. The way he avoided eye contact, how he never joined the boys at the soccer field or danced at the community hall. He was always on the edge of things, watching. Karen approached him first, offered him roasted maize under the mango tree. He hesitated, then took it. That moment unlocked something between them. Days passed. They became inseparable. She showed him her sketchbook. He taught her how to climb trees without falling. They spoke about everything, except their pasts. That silence suited Joshua just fine. Karen thought she'd found a safe friendship. He never flirted, never crossed a line. But in Joshua's heart, the boundary was already shattered. He watched her laughter like it was sunlight he could never touch. He began to dream with his eyes open. When Karen called him the brother I never had, he smiled. But inside, something cracked. A brother? No, she was his. She didn't know it yet, but she was already his. And in his mind, fate had simply brought her to him. Now, he just had to keep her. The festival in the village was electric. Fires lit up the sky, music danced through the trees, and laughter floated like fireflies. Karen wore a simple dress and a wild smile. She blended in that night, not as the rich girl from Cape Town, but as a young woman, free and glowing. Palm wine flowed too easily. She had never tasted it before, but the sweetness dulled her thoughts and made her laugh louder than usual. Joshua watched from a corner, always watching. His eyes never left her, not when she danced, not when boys approached and she waved them away, not when she stumbled, smiling. Later, she wandered from the crowd, feet unsteady, eyes half closed. Joshua followed, silently, like a shadow. She remembered the stars, how bright they were. She remembered a voice, his voice, low and soft, offering to walk her somewhere safe. She remembered hands, then darkness, then stillness. When she woke, the air was too quiet. The smell of sweat and dust clung to her. Her clothes were half on. Her body felt wrong. And next to her, Joshua lay sleeping, his arm draped possessively across her waist. For a long moment she didn't move. Her chest heaved silently. She slid out from under him, shaking. She didn't scream. She didn't speak. She just dressed, walked barefoot into the morning light, and left. She left the village. She left the past. Karen returned to Cape Town the next day, earlier than planned. She said nothing to her grandparents. She didn't wait for farewells. Her bags were packed in silence, and the driver who came to collect her didn't ask questions. Back home, everything looked the same. But she wasn't. Her laughter was quieter. Her eyes no longer lit up. At night, she locked her bedroom door and stared at the ceiling, haunted by a moment she couldn't name, a shame she couldn't explain. She told no one. What could she say? That she drank too much? That she trusted a friend? That she woke up in his bed with no memory but a body that screamed something was wrong? No. Karen buried it, deep. She blocked Joshua's number, deleted every photo from her village trip. When her grandparents called, she didn't answer. She never returned to KwaZulu-Natal again. Her body moved on, school resumed, lectures continued, but her spirit, it stayed behind, locked in that hut, frozen in time. She threw herself into her studies, chasing excellence like it owed her healing. She wanted to be useful, to matter, to save people, since she couldn't save herself. In her quietest moments, her hands would tremble without warning. Sometimes she heard his voice. Other times she questioned her own memory. Was it her fault? Did she imagine it? But beneath the guilt and denial, one thing was clear. That night had changed her. And Joshua, whatever he had done, wasn't just a ghost of her past. Not yet. Charlie Moyo had always been in Karen's life, like a warm, familiar song she never tired of hearing. Their families were close, their lives entangled since childhood. While others saw him as the billionaire's golden boy, Karen saw something deeper: kindness, patience, safety. He noticed the change in her after the village trip. She smiled less. She spoke only when necessary. Her eyes always looked far away, as if searching for something lost. But Charlie never pushed. Instead, he stayed. He showed up at her lectures with coffee. He walked her home without asking. He sat beside her in silence, sometimes for hours, letting her breathe without pretending. Slowly, Karen leaned into him, not because she was ready, but because he never asked her to be. Then came the moment that shattered her quiet healing. A missed period. A trembling hand holding a pregnancy test. 2 lines. She sat in the bathroom for over an hour, staring at the truth she wasn't prepared for. She didn't know how to tell Charlie, or what to say, but when she did, he didn't hesitate. He hugged her tightly and whispered, "We'll figure it out together." And that's what they did. Charlie proposed 2 weeks later. The wedding was grand, covered in gold and ivory, with smiling guests and dancing lights. Karen looked beautiful, like the woman she used to be. But deep inside, a question still echoed. Whose child was she carrying? She buried that thought, just like she buried everything else. Their life together was perfect, at least on the surface. Karen and Charlie moved into a glass-walled mansion in Constantia, with sprawling gardens and a nursery that looked like a page from a luxury catalog. Karen gave birth to a beautiful girl they named Lily. She was soft, delicate, and wide-eyed, like a flower that bloomed in the middle of their quiet storm. Charlie was the perfect father. He'd rock Lily to sleep, change diapers, hum lullabies while Karen watched, heart aching with love and guilt. But far away, someone else was watching too. Joshua. He had not moved on. He hadn't forgotten. Every article, every post, every glimpse of her life, he devoured it. He watched her wedding photos online with clenched fists. He saw pictures of Lily and stared at them for hours, whispering her name. He believed the child was his. He couldn't prove it, but he didn't need proof. He had conviction. He knew what had happened that night, even if Karen refused to acknowledge it. He started showing up near the estate, always in the shadows. Sometimes at night, staring through the gate. Other times, walking past slowly, recording details. Then one night, while Karen was away for a medical seminar, Charlie heard a noise downstairs. A shadow moved past the window. He rushed down, heart racing, and saw a man by the kitchen entrance, trying to force it open. Charlie tackled him. It was Joshua. The police came. He was arrested, charged for attempted burglary. Charlie never knew who he truly was. Karen was never told. After Joshua's arrest, peace seemed to return, at least on the outside. Karen resumed work at a private clinic. Charlie managed his family's property empire. Lily, now toddling around with giggles and curls, brought laughter back into their home. Their world looked perfect, but perfection, Karen had learned, was fragile. She never knew about the break-in. Charlie never mentioned it, thinking it was just a random thief. And Karen didn't ask why he suddenly insisted on hiring private security, or why he looked out the window more often. Time passed. Lily turned 1. They threw a garden party with balloons, cakes, and the kind of love that made you believe life had healed. Karen held Lily in her arms and whispered, "You are my everything." That night, Karen decided she was ready to return fully to her career. She missed medicine. She missed helping people. Charlie supported her completely. They hired a full-time nanny, a warm, experienced woman named Auntie Nomsa. Karen did background checks, ran references, even invited her to stay a weekend before officially starting. Everything seemed secure. And for a while, it was. Karen's days filled with consultations and surgeries. Her evenings were full of laughter and bedtime stories. Each time she kissed Lily's forehead, she felt peace. But deep in the city, behind prison bars, Joshua waited. His time was coming. And the one thing he had always wanted, the one thing he believed was his, was about to slip through everyone's fingers. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Ordinary, warm, unthreatening. Karen had just finished a successful surgery. She was sipping tea in the staff room, scrolling through photos of Lily playing in the garden that morning, when her phone rang. It was Auntie Nomsa. Her voice was shaking, broken. "Madam, they took her, 2 men. They forced their way in. They took Lily." Karen's breath vanished. The mug slipped from her hand and shattered. Nurses rushed to her side, but her mind had already left the room. She couldn't see, couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Her world had just collapsed. Charlie was unreachable for 17 unbearable minutes. When he answered, her voice was barely a whisper. "Lily's gone." He didn't respond. The line went dead. Within hours, the house was flooded with police. Auntie Nomsa sobbed uncontrollably as she described the men, masked, silent, and efficient. They didn't touch anything else. Just the child. The front door was left wide open. Karen clutched Lily's soft pink blanket like it held her heartbeat. Charlie punched walls. Neighbors watched in stunned silence as sirens wailed and cameras were installed. Everything was turned upside down. The CCTV footage was dark. The van's license plate was fake, and the trail was cold before it even began. Then came the most chilling news. Joshua had been released that same morning, and no one had seen or heard from him since. The sun had set, but the Moyo home refused to sleep. Police lights flickered across the lawn. Neighbors stood at their gates, whispering. Inside, time had collapsed. Karen sat on the nursery floor, Lily's favorite stuffed giraffe clutched to her chest. Her hands trembled. Her lips moved, praying, bargaining, anything. But there was only silence. Charlie paced the hallway, his phone glued to his ear, calling private investigators, security firms, anyone who might give them hope. But every call ended the same. No leads. The news of Joshua's release had shattered Karen's fragile peace. She hadn't heard his name in over a year, but now it echoed through the halls like a curse. She didn't speak it aloud. She couldn't. Not to Charlie. Not yet. That night, Karen replayed everything. The village, the night under the stars, the shame, the silence, the child who grew inside her, and the question she buried with every lullaby. What if Lily was never Charlie's? But none of that mattered now. Lily was gone. Hours passed, then days. Posters were printed. TV stations picked up the story. Social media flooded with images of Lily's bright smile. And still, no sign. Joshua had vanished, as if swallowed by the earth. Charlie barely slept, Karen barely breathed, and in the shadows of the city, somewhere unknown, their child, the rose she left behind, was gone without a trace. The end. What do you think happened to Lily? Do you believe Joshua was behind the kidnapping? And if you were Charlie, would you forgive Karen if the truth came out? Let's talk about it in the comments, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Watch out for part 2, where the truth will change everything. Thanks for watching.